So is everybody here right now in the house?
Huh?
So everybody in the house?
Yeah, everybody in the house. So don't want to move out. You don't want to. You stick with the house. Easily done.
Where's the closest fire?
Oh, Hamilton. Hamilton. Over there, right?
Yeah.
You don't know. Oh, there is a one mountain.
I hear it's somewhere here, but I cannot see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what? I think 27 look like. Yeah, 27. Right. Therefore, so we discussed last time 26, then 27, now we read 27. Therefore, whatever originates dependently, though primordially free of intrinsic existence, appears as if it does possess intrinsic existence. So you thought all this to be illusion like, right? So it says, therefore, because things are dependent origination by nature, things are dependent origination by nature. Whatever originates dependently, things are empty of inherent existence, and also things are at the same time also dependent origination. So these are not contradictory. So they exist harmoniously. Both of them exist harmoniously. So therefore, because of that very reason, whatever originates dependently, though primordially or whatever you primordially or primordially free of intrinsic existence, right? Because the primordially is used, right? Because anything, whatever things come into being, things come into being with causes and conditions. The moment things come into being, it comes into being in the nature of the disintegration. It comes in the nature of momentarily changing, right? So this momentarily changing, the momentarily changing nature of the things and events is nobody created. Nobody created, but it is discovered, right? Nobody has created. The moment things come into being, it comes into that nature, of going through the momentary changing. And also, when the things come into being, when each anything which come into being as a result of the causes and the aggregation of the causes and conditions, they also come into being in the nature of in the nature of the empty of inherent existence. The things lack inherent existence, things are being empty of inherent existence. So this is the ultimate nature of the things and events, right? So things come into being into that nature when the things, because things have the relative nature as well as the the ultimate nature. the moment the relative nature come into being, the ultimate nature also comes into being, right. So, this is the the nature of all the things and events, nobody has created. This is the very how to say the natural law, the natural law. So, that is why it is called, though primarily free of intrinsic, right, free of intrinsic existence, appears as if it does possess intrinsic existence. So, you taught all this to be illusion like. So, here in the verse 3, right, need to be, so there is different one can understand that in a different two ways, right. One can understand that verse in a two ways. One is because although things are primarily free of intrinsic reality, the empty of inherent existence, the empty of intrinsic nature, right. So, on the one hand, things as being empty of inherent nature, and on the other hand, the things still function. The things still function in its own way, because the things have the nature to produce produce this and that, some functionality nature. So, this functionality nature is what is called as the appearance. Empty nature of the things and the appearance nature of the things, these two, right. So, these two are what is called as illusion, right. So, here says, so you taught all this. So, I am here not talking about possesses intrinsic existence, right. You can also explain in that way, but here I am trying to just explain the the empty nature of the things, and also the the appearance nature of the things. So, the combination of these two, the combination nature of these two is what is seen as illusion. So, this is how we can understand in one way, and then in the in another way we can also explain in terms of the negation, right. Now, for example, right, things are empty of inherent existence and things are free of intrinsic nature, although the primordially things are empty of inherent existence. That means the moment the things and events come into being, the nature, that very nature come into being, nobody has created, right. So, even although the things are empty of that very nature, but then what happened? What really happen is, things are empty of inherent nature, but then when the things appear to us, when the things appear to our conventional mind, we all do have the mind, when the things appear to our the consciousness or our mind, so then things are appeared as what? Things are appeared as something totally different. Things appeared as something totally different from its own very nature, which is the empty of true existence, right. So, things appeared as if some kind of solid independent existence, things appeared very something having some kind of the concrete nature, some kinds of solidity nature, right. So, the way things appeared and the way things really are totally different, right. So, this the gap between the disparity and the gap between the appearance of the things and the very nature of the things itself, the very nature of the thing itself is what is called as falsity. Falsity, right, is what is called a false, false appearance, right, false. So this very false nature is what? This very false nature is false, or what we call as unfavorable, right? Unfavorable. This gap is what is called as unfavorable, or disharmony, right? Disharmony or unfavorable. So this is what is called as falsity. Better called falsity. This falsity is now illusion. Illusion, right? Now here there are two kinds of illusion, right? There are two kinds of illusion. The huge gap between the appearance, the huge gap between the appearance of the things and the very nature of the things. So there is some gap, there is disparity, the way things appeared and the way things really are. So we need to destroy this gap, we need to dismantle this gap, right? Dismantle this gap. So this is what is called as so this is not the truth. So this is not the truth. This is a false, not the truth. So this is one illusion, the one type of illusion, right? The gap between the appearance and the reality. So this gap is one illusion. We call this one illusion, because it's a false. The illusion of the falsity. Now another illusion is when things come into being, things, we do experience things, we do see this and that, so we also do see the visual objects, all this we do experience, right? We enjoy all these things. But then what is the very nature of these things? The very nature of these things, how do they exist, right? How do they exist? They exist so they exist by way of mental designation. They exist by way of empty of inherent existence. So this empty of inherent existence phenomena, empty of inherent existent things and events is what is called as illusion, another mode of illusion, another illusion, right? So this is what it is saying. There are two kinds of illusion, right? One thing, the disparity nature of the things, the way things appear and the way things really are, is the illusion. And the another illusion is the things does exist. If the things does exist, in what ways do the things does exist? Is only by empty of inherent existence, right? Now here the important thing to understand is we need the first one, the disparity. the disparity and the gap between the nature of the gap between the reality of the things and the appearance of the things, right? We need to understand this. We need to understand this. So, we need to so this, it is I think maybe useful to use the metaphor, or example, this mark, this mark appeared so solid, so independent, intrinsic, but what is the reality? What really is the nature of this, ultimate nature of this, the cup, this small mark? It is empty. It is empty of intrinsic reality. It is primordially free of the intrinsic nature, right? But then, when it appears to us, it appears to us as something solid, something very solid, and something very independent, unitary, right? So there is some gap, right? Now, we all do have thoughts. You have thoughts, I have thoughts. Again, when we try to ascertain, when we try to understand the emptiness of this cup, when we try to ascertain the emptiness of this cup, we may think, in our thoughts, this cup is appeared to our thoughts, this cup is appeared, say, the image of this cup, the image, because we all know when we talk about the conceptual thoughts, conceptual thoughts has is not capable, all the conceptual thoughts is not capable of perceiving this, the cup, any phenomena directly. This is not the function of the conceptual thoughts. The function of a conceptual thought is it perceives the object through the medium, right? So that means when I have thought, this is cup, so that means the image of the cup is reflected, and then this image of the cup and this cup a little bit mixed, mixed, and then image of the cup I believe is the real cup, right? So that's why it is, any conceptual thought is mistaken, because the conceptual thought apprehend the object, the object and the image as some kind of mixed, in the form of the mixture, right? So here, this cup, the way this cup appeared and the reality of this cup, right? Now, for example, image, the image of this cup. Image of this cup is not a cup, we all know, right? There's no question. We know the image of this cup is not this cup. So then, we to some extent have ascertained the gap. There's no gap. There's no disparity between the reality of this cup, and the way this cup appears to our mind, because the image of this cup is not cup. The image of this cup is appeared as this cup to our conceptual thought, which we know the image of this cup is not this cup, right? So now we go little deeper. Now, then we go little deeper, right? So how do we go little deeper now? When we talk about, when we try to understand the emptiness, when we try to understand the selflessness, when we try to understand the no self theory, when we try to understand the empty mode of inherent existence, empty mode of inherent existence of all the things and events. Right now I am taking this cup, simply this cup as an example, right. So now here, when we try to ascertain the emptiness, we always need to understand the grasping, right. So your grasping, our grasping, what kind of grasping? The grasping, believing this cup to be the true existence cup, true existence and absolute cup, independent cup. So this kind of grasping. To that grasping, in that grasping, this cup is true existence. Yes, this cup is true existence. To which mental state? To your ignorance. This cup is true existence, right. For example, when we try to establish the validity of the emptiness, when we try to establish the validity of the emptiness, when we try to establish the truth of the emptiness, we are not talking the sensorial level. We are not trying to establish the truth of the emptiness at the those mental states other than the wisdom, directly realizing emptiness, what we call as uninterrupted path, spiritual path. So emptiness is established as truth only to the wisdom directly realizing emptiness. Similarly, when we try to establish the truth of this, the truth nature of the intrinsic reality of this cup, we always relate this to the ignorance, grasping mind, right. Because to the grasping mind, this cup is true existence, because it is appeared as true existence. Just as it appears as true existence, grasping also grasps it to be true existence, right. So therefore when we try to see, when we try to ascertain, when we try to perceive, when we try to perceive the illusion nature, the illusion here refers to what? The illusion here refers to the disparity, the gap between the appearance and the reality. So the gap between the appearance and reality need to be ascertained. So in order to ascertain this, we always need to ascertain at your grasping mind, right. How at your grasping mind we try, right, how this cup is appearing, not your not your sensory perception, right, sensory perception, and also not all the conceptual thoughts. All the conceptual thoughts are not the grasping. All the conceptual thoughts are not ignorance, ignorant mental state. So therefore, the only so only those grasping mind, things appeared as true existence. Just as things appeared as true existence, the grasping mind also holding it to be true existence. So this is the ignorance mind, right. So when we try to ascertain the gap or disparity, we need to ascertain ignorance, right? How it appears to our ignorance, just as it appears to the ignorance, how ignorance is grasping. So, we try to check the mode of the functionality, we try to check the function of the ignorance, how it is grasping, how things are appearing as true existence. So, this is what we are trying to identify, right. So, therefore, without identifying the ignorance, there is no way that one is close to emptiness, selfless, the no self theory. We are talking about the emptiness, the profundity of the emptiness, but profundity of the emptiness can only relate to one's ignorance, ignorant in the confusion mental state. Without, just as Master the Shantideva say, if you are not able to identify the negation, if you are not able to identify the negation, there is no way that you can identify the emptiness. When we talk about understanding emptiness, ascertaining emptiness, perceiving emptiness, it has to do with it has to do with the identification of the ignorance, right? Confusion mental state. So that's again very important. If you come to understand all this, although a lot of things had to be said, but then you need we need pretty rich epistemological study. So, like this rich epistemological also background is needed. Right now, if I try to tell, not much use. Now, then, right. So, here the way things exist and the way things really are, this nature we are only trying to relate it with the relative truth, not the emptiness itself, not the ultimate reality, only the relative truth, right? Only the relative truth. Because the truth of this nature, the gap between the reality and the appearance, the truth of the nature, this nature is only relate to the relative truth, not the emptiness. Emptiness, the truth of the emptiness is only can be talked only in the context of the wisdom realizing emptiness, right. So, you taught all this to be illusion like, appears as if it does possess intrinsic existence. So, you taught all this to be illusion like. Through this very fact, I understand well the statement that to what you have taught, those opponents who challenge you cannot find faults that accord with reason, right. So, what it is saying is, through this very fact, I understand well, right. What kind of fact? The dependent origination, the fact of the dependent origination, the fact of the empty nature of all the things and events. Through this very fact, I understand well the statement, right. What kind of statement? The statement, the statement that the perfect cessation, the perfect abandonment, and the perfect realization. and then the perfect, the path of the renunciation. So this, so these things, these are the statement. The Buddha has made this statement, has taught this, the perfect abandonment, the perfect realization, and the path of the renunciation. To what you have taught, the statement that to what you have taught. So these are the statement that you have taught. Those opponents who challenge you, those opponents refers to all the ancient teachers, founders. Those opponents who try to challenge you, they cannot find any reason to challenge you. They don't have any kind of supportive reason to challenge you. They cannot find any the chance, the opportunity to challenge you. Why? Because you have taught all this on the basis of dependent origination. Right? So what they try to challenge you is based on no reason. What you are trying to tell, what you have been trying to tell, accord with reason, because there is enough reason, abundant reason, so they don't find any chance to challenge you. And the reason that you have taught is the reason of dependent origination, right? Why? Verse 29. Why is this so? Because by declaring these chances of reification and denigration towards things seen and unseen are made most remote. Oh, right. Right. So why is this so? Now the reason is giving, right? Reason is trying to being given here. How? Because all what you have taught is based on reason, the reason of dependent origination, right? The reason of dependent origination. So those opponents, they do find no chance to challenge you, right? And they could not find any they could not find any means to challenge you, because they are devoid of reason of dependent origination. Whereas in your system, Buddha's system, there is a a truly logical reason. So it is finally come into the conclusion of dependent arising, dependent origination. Things are dependent origination. Because things are dependent origination, right? Because things are dependent origination, they cannot challenge you. They cannot find any the opportunity, chance to challenge you, because this is the reason. Why this is so? Because by declaring these chances for reification and denigration towards things seen and unseen are made most remote. What does that mean? Right. Because now here it says chances for reification, denigration towards things seen and unseen. So sin means now refers to manifest phenomena, evident phenomena, obvious phenomena, right? Now, for example, the table, the chairs, the trees, the external environment, the external objects, all these are manifest phenomena. Unseen refers to what? Unseen means those hidden phenomena, right? Hidden phenomena. Like now, what are the hidden phenomena? The impermanent nature, the empty nature, like the cessation quality, right? All this. So, all these are hidden phenomena. First I will explain, right, then we will discuss a little bit about this. So, earlier the system, philosophical system, they do depreciate, or they they either this early philosophical system, they overestimate or underestimate the evident phenomena, right? Because they do say sometimes, therefore the master, I think Tanjamba, there is one in the school, and then the one very old school, Master Chandragiri say, I have given you all the reason, very logical reason. I have given all the, provided you with all the ample of logical reason, but still if you refuse to believe, I don't argue with you no longer. I don't argue, because I have shown everything with logic that you can understand, right? So that means the earlier the system does not accept the manifest phenomena. They depreciate, they overestimate, they underestimate, right? This one, and then when it comes to the proving the hidden phenomena, hidden phenomena, not only earlier the schools, but also within the Buddhist, the lower schools, they also overestimate or underestimate the validity of the evident phenomena, like validity of the hidden phenomena, like when they try to present the emptiness, the no self theory, what they are talking is very rough, very rough understanding of the emptiness, right? The doctrine of the no self theory, although impermanent, does not not much different, but then when it comes to the when it comes to the presentation of the emptiness, then huge difference comes. So, but their understanding of the emptiness, the lower school emptiness, is based on the findability of the things. Things are in final essence findable. So the so-called emptiness can be found when searched. In the Master Nagarjuna's system, even the emptiness cannot be found. So this very richly, very profound, very vast, right? So therefore, it says, are made most remote. What make most remote? Dependent arising, dependent origination, understanding dependent origination, right? Perceiving the dependent origination, ascertaining the dependent origination makes the distorted view, perverted view and distorted view get rid of the perverted view and distorted view. Right, because in the ancient system, they do say, oh, things are not a causal dependent origination. So here dependent origination talks about the causal dependent origination. So this understanding completely under this wisdom destroyed. The belief in the system that things are not dependent origination, the things are not a causal dependent origination. And then when we move further, then the understanding that things are mere mental designation, right? Mere mental imputation, because now it really how it serves as strong antidote is because in the other than the Madhyamika, Prasangika Madhyamika school or consequentialist Madhyamika, all the schools, what they do believe is things do exist, right? Definitely things do exist. Now, in what ways do the things do exist? If you were to ask them, they would, they would respond, things exist by means of independent existence, true existence. That means things are findable. Finally, what they do believe is, if things are not findable, if things cannot be found, then they fear they are falling into the extreme of nihilism. Then if you fall into the extreme of nihilism, then they are depreciating, underestimating the law of cause and effect, which they never try to harm. They really believe in the law of cause and effect. They try, all the schools try to maintain their level best not to harm the law of cause and effect, right? So they fear, if they do believe in the unfindability of things, that means the law of cause and effect does not make any sense. So out of fear, they finally have to accept the system that things do possess intrinsic reality. Things are finally findable, ultimately findable. But then Master Nagarjuna's system, Prasanga Madhyamika, they, even if things cannot, even if you try to search the things, let alone the relative truth, even the emptiness, the so-called emptiness, emptiness itself does not exist. Therefore, emptiness of emptiness come. The understanding of the emptiness of emptiness come, right? So even if things do not, in ultimate sense, even if you try to, search the essence of the things, we cannot find. But then this unfindability of the things and events does not mean that things does not exist. Does not mean that we have to deny the things, existence of the things. Things does exist by means of conceptual labeling, mental imputation. Only through mental imputation, things does exist. So this is the unique system of Arya Nagarjuna's system, Arya Nagarjuna's school. Right. Then this dependent origination really, is the root of what? Is the root of higher rebirth. Is the root of higher rebirth and definitive goodness. The wisdom of dependent origination, the understanding of dependent origination is the very root of higher rebirth and the definitive goodness. How does understanding and the wisdom of the dependent origination act as a root of the higher rebirth and definitive goodness? Is because by by gaining understanding in the causal dependent origination, we develop conviction in the law of cause and effect, because law of the cause and effect, training in the law of cause and effect is the mind training of the person of the lower scope. Right. So through this, when we try to observe, when we try to understand, develop the wisdom of the law of cause and effect, how the karmic laws operate, then in addition to this, then we try to, because we need to take a higher rebirth, fortunate rebirth. In order to do so, there must be some reason, there must be some causes and conditions. So this is observing the ethics, morality, right? So therefore, the morality, by observing the morality, it gives rise to result of higher rebirth. And then by observing the six perfections, engaging in six perfections are the cooperating factor for having a not only now human rebirth, but not only the human rebirth, but a very purposeful human rebirth, right? Human rebirth accorded with 8 leisures and 10 endowments, right? And not only this, we can take rebirth. For example, if we want to make some in the specific school, you can take, for example, may I take a rebirth, through your stainless prayer, through the purity of your prayer is being involved, right? So then in the next rebirth, it is very possible that you are born into that tradition, specific tradition, right? So all this understanding is finally rooted in dependent origination understanding, right? And then it is also a cause for the definitive goodness, obtainment of the definitive goodness, right? No, liberation, right? Liberation. Now we go little deeper of dependent origination, not only the causal dependent origination, but also the imputation, the dependent origination of dependent on the basis of designation, mental imputation, mental designation, the basis of designation, right? Imputation. So through this understanding, if the things does not exist, that does not mean things are empty. Things does exist, but there is no independent existence, independent and solid appearance. So it is only through the understanding of mental designation, the basis of designation, we finally try to undo the grasping. We come to get rid of, overcome the grasping, ignorance. When the grasping is overcome, when the grasping is rooted, when the grasping is get rid of, then we achieve a quality. That quality is what is called as cessation quality. So that is eternally peaceful, eternal. There is no more boring. One could say eternal goodbye, right, to all the boring and these messy mental states. Right. I think why so? Because by declaring this, chances for revocation and denigration. So once we understand this dependent origination, perverted view and wrong view, distorted view is expelled, dispelled, and there is simply no room for arising these distorted things, distorted views. perverted views, because you have got rid of the grasping, which is the root for all the degenerations, all the perverted views, wrong views. Are met most remote, right? It never occur. Now here, so this is what we understand with the verse 29. Normally we say in the epistemological study we divide the phenomena into the three parts, right? Evident phenomena, then hidden phenomena, and then extremely hidden phenomena, extremely concealed phenomena. So, as we discussed, evident phenomena or obvious phenomena is the things that all sensorial perception perceive. There is no need to prove. Your sensorial perception, directly come into contact with those external things, which do not need to prove. Evident phenomena, why the evident phenomena are called, is because when the ordinary beings, when they perceive these things, evident phenomena, they perceive by means of the perception, sensorial perceptions. No reason is necessary. When they first perceive, they perceive through the sensorial perceptions. When we talk about the hidden phenomena, now the phenomena, the nature of the phenomena goes little deeper now. Now we cannot access, sensorial perception cannot get access, cannot gain any access, because these phenomena need to prove through reason, logical approach, logical reasoning. It is beyond the sensorial perceptions. Then when we talk about extremely hidden phenomena, then it is now only to the nakedness, the direct perceptions now become only to the the knowledge of the omniscient mind. This is beyond, one need to rely on the scriptural quotations, right? Now if we understand this, then we can discuss a little bit evident phenomena. So these are important, right? So now if I take this table, this just evident phenomena, hidden phenomena, extremely hidden phenomena, are all these contradiction or not? No? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's right. But then, yeah, we will go. Yeah, we will go.
At the beginning, I think at the beginning it is, because
Huh?
it is very contradictory at the beginning. But once you understand it, then not anymore.
Right. So now need to think a little bit. This, for example, this cup, right? This cup is so this cup is evident phenomena to me, right? This cup may seem is evident phenomena for me, at least, right? But because it is evident phenomena to me, does this mean it is evident phenomena everybody? Yes or no? Yeah. Evident. Right. Yes. Right. Right. Think. Yeah. This is very important to understand. So that one can also very helpful in relating to one's day-to-day life. Many things. Right. Many positive thoughts. Happy life, unhealthy life. All this must depend on this understanding to some extent. Also, very helpful understanding these things. Right. Right. Now, then, if something is evident to you, any phenomena, if that phenomena is evident or manifest to you, does that mean it is manifest to everybody?
No.
No.
Like for example, some of the hidden phenomena is hidden from us, but not hidden from Buddha.
No, I'm just taking you right now. I'm just taking manifest phenomena, evident phenomena. Right. If something is manifest, evident phenomena to your mind, is it evident to everybody's mind?
No.
Then give example. No? If no, give example. Right.
For example, in some of the math and science. For me, I understand it. It's evident to me. But for a lot of people who are not trained, it's like an alien language to them. They don't understand.
Language.
Yeah, for example, language. For someone who learned, for example, you know Tibetan, I don't know Tibetan. Tibetan is obvious language. A word or sound come to you, it's obvious to you, this is the meaning. But to me, it is not.
You can also take like this example, and then you can also take your own mind. Your mind, right? To you, to your mind, for example, your motivation, right? For example, positive motivation. Positive motivation to you is evident. This your mental state, but for other people, it's hidden. Right. Same like this. Right. Now, for example, again, if you go, somebody is your friend. That for you, that person is your friend, but then that does not mean that person is friend to all, right? Similarly, that person is your enemy, but that does not mean that person is enemy to all. Simple. Right? This is one thing. And then another thing is, right. Now, friend, your friend, if somebody is your friend, that somebody is not your enemy. If somebody is your friend and that somebody is not your enemy, however, that somebody for other people does not mean friend.
Right.
Everything like this. Right? So therefore, cause and effect. There's cause and effect involved, right? And then, for example, like Then, for example, if that is the case, right, for example, juice, one juice, for orange juice, orange juice, right, orange juice for me, it's a very, how to say, it a taste, how to say, now say, I think better take food, right, one food, right, that food to me is tasty. Not that does not mean it's a tasty for everybody, right. Now, if that is the case, right, now we come to this conclusion. Now, this food is good or bad? This food is tasty or not?
No. There's no conclusion.
It only depends who is tasting it.
Oh. So then we cannot say there is no tasty food.
We can. It's tasty to oneself. Like the food is tasty to myself, not necessarily tasty to everyone.
Not tasty? The food?
We can only say the food is tasty to the person who is liking it, who tastes it and like it. Not necessarily for everyone.
So we cannot say. Or we are going to say this food is both bad and good. Yeah, food is both tasty and not tasty. We are going to say like this.
That will make more sense. Yes.
So think very well. Think very well, Or are we going to say the food is both tasty and non-tasty? Right? The song is called both melody and non-melody. What does that mean? Or at certain point we could say, the sugar cane, the sugar is both, sweet and no sweet. On the verge of saying like this. Right. And also, right. And also, we say, now for example, extremely hidden phenomena, right? Those extremely hidden phenomena, we need to rely on the Buddha's, scriptural quotation, right? Scriptural authority. But then, now for example, if we observe the vows, if we observe the ethics, if we guard the ethics, we take a favorable rebirth. It's a hidden phenomena, right? Extremely hidden phenomena. There are no ordinary human beings who understand this, or who directly perceive this, or if we in this very life, now for example, in this very life, I may be rich, right, very rich in this very life, and then, but then this richness, my richness of material resources is due to my the practice of giving in the past. There are no ordinary human being who directly perceive this.
No.
Because this, right? No? Yes. No. Right. If we say there is no somebody, then there are some people who have clairvoyance. Now ordinary people, we don't say anybody who have clairvoyance are a highly spiritual being. Not necessarily. And even those ordinary beings, they do have clairvoyance. The clairvoyance of say clairvoyance, the mental clairvoyance, the eye clairvoyance, right? And they're recalling the past life, the clairvoyance. They they can recall why that person become rich. They can recall the past life, right? Oh, because of that he practiced this and that on that particular time and particular date. That person practiced this the material resources. Because of this, now he has that result. They are clairvoyance, right? So that is now evident phenomena, right? Not hidden phenomena. Also, because there's one called sense power, right? For example, eye power, ear power, they have its own shape. Because for example, we are able to hear Buddha say there's a one, there is a very the very clear the lucid the form. It's particles, composition of particles, but this is beyond telescope. It cannot microscope. Yeah, it cannot be seen through microscope. So subtle. You need to rely on Buddha's scriptural quotation. Cannot prove through reason and logic, right? So this form, there is nobody who see this form. Ordinary human being, ordinary beings. Are there nobody? They are ordinary human beings who see this. For example, again, some ordinary human being, who achieve the clairvoyance of the eye. The function of the achieving the clairvoyance of the eye is that they can see the gross and the subtle form of the 3,000 universe system, world system, all the forms, whether it's gross or whether subtle, they perceive through their clairvoyance, right? So this is a manifest phenomena, right? So then no contradiction. Evident phenomena, hidden phenomena, extremely hidden phenomena. These two are no contradiction. Right. Or we could say, because they they are ordinary, one or two ordinary human beings, they these things are accessible to these ordinary human beings, so we say it's an evident phenomena. Right. If we say like this, then at certain point we can also say emptiness and impermanent. Emptiness and impermanent are also the evident phenomena. Right? Why? Because when the ordinary people first, they when they perceive, they need to perceive through reason, right? That is the only reason, right? If that is the case, the sense power also same. Right? Sense power also same. When they first perceive, you need to rely on scriptural quotation. You cannot get direct access to these things. Right? And not only that, for example, if you for example, if we take a birth, for example, this life, this life, what is our past, what is our previous rebirth? For example, we say, yeah, my previous rebirth was in formless realm, right? I was born as a the divine being in the formless realm, right? Formless realm. So you come from formless realm here, for example, right? In this life. So then we do believe, we have sense organ, right? We have sense organ, eye, ear, and all this sense power. But then sense power, right? When I was in the mother's womb, right? Or when I just when the mother gives birth, I have the sense organ. This sense power does not come without cause and condition. It has some substantial cause, right? Substantial cause. What is the substantial cause? Huh? What is the substantial cause? Somebody who came from the formless realm to this world. What is the direct substantial cause and indirect substantial cause? Otherwise, we have to accept or come without cause and condition. then we don't understand dependent origination. So far, we have all explaining about this, right? What is the substantial cause?
Was it karma?
Huh?
The karma.
What kind of karma? When we say substantial cause, it need to be something related with the form. Our eye, ear, nose, they sense power. We call sense power extremely subtle. Not necessarily seen with naked eyes, but it has its own earlier substantial cause, right? We come from the formless realm to this world. Where is the substantial cause? All the senses, what are their substantial cause?
Of the senses?
Because no sense power, they have their own shape, ear, nose, like this. Because since ear, for example, we are able to, when we see, we are able to seize the object, right? We are able to hold the object. That is because of the sense power. The sense power.
So you're talking about the shape of the sense power.
Not it's something that we can call sense power itself, because sense power itself has the shape, shape, and then for example, ear sense power. When we talk about the ear, we are able to hear. Why we are able to hear is we believe there is a very lucid, very clear the form, which then able to hear, sees all the sound, retain all the sound. So this is the ear sense power, like this. But it's a form, very very subtle form. It's actually not organ, actually not organ, right? Not organ. It's very, I say, it's very, again we can see, right? But it's very subtle, even in telescope we cannot see. Therefore, Buddha, need to rely on Buddha's scriptural quotation. So my, question is, where does this, sense power? What is the substantial cause? Right. For example, if our body, what is the substantial cause of our body, physical body? If we try, we come to the father's drop and the mother's, the union of father's drop and the mother's drop is the substantial cause of our body. Our mind, what is the substantial cause? It's earlier, it's earlier moment of mind. if we try to search substantial cause, and then finally come into the mother's womb, when we are in mother's womb, again then it goes, and again come to the past life. So now here we are talking about what are the, we come here, right, into this world, from the formless limb to this earth. Where is substantial cause? Or we are past life, we are going to earlier past life. Right. Now here, for example, again, here this, I am going to take rebirth in my next life rebirth. If I were to take a rebirth in the formless limb, right? If I were to take a rebirth in the formless limb, what happened? My sense power destroyed. If destroyed, then things all, everything get messed up. Right? I mean, yeah, your organ, all this, physical, right? That's right. Definitely, get cremated, whatever. But what about the sense organ, sense powers?
So we're still on the same question?
Huh?
So we're still on the same question?
Yeah, I asked, where.
So what would mind itself? So it will be mind.
What?
Mind itself.
Mind itself. Mind is not. If you say mind, it becomes very, So this is one of the, very critically raised in question, For example, when we try to prove the, the existence of the past life, in the present, future life, we say the substance, the elements, 4 elements, all the particles cannot be the particles cannot be the main factor for becoming a new human being, the new sentient being. If that is the so, then sentient beings can have, we have limitless sentient beings. If the sentient beings are limitless, enlightenment is, we talk about sentient beings can achieve enlightenment. Impossible. That cannot be possible. Because sentient beings are limited, right? Limited. Because the substantial cause of the consciousness must be mind. The substantial cause of the consciousness must be consciousness. External matter cannot act as a substantial cause. If they serve as substantial cause, then then rebirth theory, cannot be difficult. Because what they, in ancient tradition, what they do believe is, next life does not exist. What they do give the example is, for example, on the wall, if you write, some figure, what they do believe is, if you demolish the wall, the figure is demolished. So they believe, if your physical body is destroyed, your mind is destroyed too. No past or future life. The Buddhists say, oh, not that way. There is a continuity of the mind, right? Physical aggregates, physical and mind is totally different, But there is some relationship, close relationship. But for example, at the very, how do we know that physical is not necessarily dependent on mind? Is because when the minds get much subtler, right? For example, there is one elder monk, right? One elder monk in Taiwan, he remained in Tukdam, meditation of the death for 28 days. If the mind is dependent on the body should, if the mind is totally dependent on the body, what happens is when when the gross mind dies, when the gross mind ceased, the body decomposed. The body is not decomposed. The body still remains fresh. Subtle mind there, but the body not decomposed. So I think the gross, at the gross mind and gross body can relate it, heavily related. When the mind becomes much subtler and subtler, not necessarily then depend on the gross body. This example, right? This example shows that monk 28 days normal, blood. They say normal. The blood, the flowing of the blood movement, blood rate, normal like person. Right. So anyway, the subtle form, the gross form, right? For example, our body is gross form, right? So these are gross thing, right? When this is, and also it's external phenomena. It is external phenomena. So something those very form which we do have in our continuum, this subtle is very possible that it can transform into propensity, tendency. It can transform. It can never, destroy it. It transforms into the tendency, propensity, right? So therefore, there is no problem. Even if you come into this birth, what is your substantial cause? The substantial cause is nothing other than the imprint. Formless realm. In the formless realm, there is no form, but still we have the imprints, of the sense power. Imprints of the, the sense power. The imprints of the sense power are not form. Those are propensity, right? So there is no problem. Even if you take a rebirth in the formless realm, now a human being, if you next life, there is no problem. All the propensity, the sense power, are transformed into the propensity, the tendency. Then this tendency slowly activate, again transform into sense power. Right.
So the propensity is this stored along with the mind and sort of travels with the mind.
That's right. That's right.
The
right.
karma that you create.
That's right. Because if you try to understand, these are also very important things to understand. We all know what in this when we are awake, everything is operates at a very gross level, right? Gross level. When the whether it is the form of mind, when it becomes much subtler and subtler, there's more tendency to transform into the propensity. Whereas the gross things cannot transform the propensity, right? So if the propensity, when we talk about propensity or tendency, it is not something it is not something that it is stored somewhere which is so unstable, right? We have physical body, very unstable, right? We cannot carry this body on the next life, right? And also the gross mind, we cannot carry on the next life, right? All the gross things, the very gross mind, gross feeling, all the many of the the gross things that we do have now in our mental continuum cannot bring to the next life. All when all the gross ceased, the subtle things manifest. So these subtle things now, the imprints, the gross ceased, in the gross ceased, and the gross ceased, right? So and then the subtle manifest, the propensity, the subtle has to cease at the final, for example, in the final death, the last death, which then only is a clear light mind. So all the propensities, those propensity is there. The propensity need to be stored, need to be somewhere. So this mental consciousness, it is, the propensity is being stored in the mental consciousness. So the continuity of the mental consciousness now carry on life after life. It continues life after life endlessly, right? Therefore, if you try to make sense, when we talk about 12 links of dependent origination, the 12 links of dependent origination, and the third one is consciousness, right? Because the imprints are imprinted on the consciousness. If you try to look all these things, I think if all the things really work at the cause effect. Again, when we talk about the cause effect, can also go much deeper. Much deeper cause and effect. Deeper cause and effect is related with karma, karmic law. Karmic law. Otherwise, things cannot be explainable, right? Gross law of cause and effect, which then related with very subtle, law of cause and effect. The subtle law of cause and effect, it has to do with karma. If you try to look at the, how the world changes, how the environment changes, how the positive changes, the disasters, all these things changes, the 4 seasons, all try to look at this, finally it is something to do with karma law. Things does not come into being without any causes and condition, must be, right? For instance, strangely, for example, Saturday, right? Or Sunday, last Sunday, for example, there is a thunderstorm, right? Yeah, we hear thunderstorm, right? Lightning. But why lightning occurs? There is no rain. Usually, when the thunder, not necessarily, the thunder, storm can occur with rain or without rain. And then, for example, without rain, in the case of without rain, it occurs. What is the purpose of striking thunderstorm? Right? What is the purpose of lightning? If nothing happens, lightning occurs. But fire occurs. Fire occurs, right? When we talk about a fire, it has to do with survival. It has something to do with feeling. When the feeling is involved, karma is involved. So therefore, same there's the concept like collective karma, individual karma. Sometimes if we go to some other places, we can say, oh, there is no human being, right? Oh, this complete deserted area, right? Oh, there is nobody, but not necessarily a human being, right? There is some limitless sentient beings, not necessarily that we need to see with our eyes. Very subtle. Anyway, right? Yeah, they say, as long as sentient being remain, as long as space remain, as long as sentient being remain, where there is a space, there is a sentient being. There is not a space which is not pervaded by sentient being. This is not a space which is not pervaded by Buddha. Everything's. Then oh, in the restroom there Buddha, there, yeah, we create negative. That's no good, right? Oh, then wondrous. Yeah, then I think we better leave it here. Then we begin 30 from next week. Any question? Huh?